Now going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Vivek giving kudos to Tucker Carlson for interviewing Mr. Putin. Now this comes to us thanks to Vivek's personal X-Twitter profile, and he says, before this video is actually posted by Elon, and Vivek says, quote, "a real journalist, actual intellectual curiosity," unquote. And it's got 2.1 million views and 95,000 likes in the first 24 hours of posting. Or rather, after the 24 hours posting, as I wrote down the statistics. Now, this is a quick 4-minute little clip of Tucker Carlson. I'll play the first minute or two.
We're in Moscow tonight. We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. We'll be doing that soon. There are risks to conducting an interview like this, obviously, so we thought about it carefully over many months. Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine. But they should know. They're paying for much of it
200 billion.
in ways they might not fully yet perceive. The war in Ukraine is a human disaster. It's left hundreds of thousands of people dead, an entire generation of young Ukrainians, and it's depopulated the largest country in Europe. But the long-term effects are even more profound. This war has utterly reshaped the global military and trade alliances, and the sanctions that followed have as well. And in total, they have upended the world economy. The post-World War II economic order, the system that guaranteed prosperity in the West for more than 80 years, is coming apart very fast, and along with it, the dominance of the US dollar. These are not small changes. They are history-altering developments. They will define the lives of our grandchildren. Most of the world understands this perfectly well. They can see it. Ask anyone in Asia or the Middle East what the future looks like. And yet the populations of the English-speaking countries seem mostly unaware. They think that as nothing has really changed. And they think that because no one has told them the truth. Their media outlets are corrupt. They lie to their readers and viewers. And they do that mostly by omission. For example, since the day the war in Ukraine began, American media outlets have spoken to scores of people from Ukraine, and they have done scores of interviews with Ukrainian President Zelensky. We ourselves have put
It seems like every channel has an interview with him, and yet I don't think a single U.S. media company has ever tried to reach out to Vladimir Putin.
a request for an interview with Zelensky, and we hope he accepts.
Oh, he won't.
But the interviews he's already done...
Dollars to donuts, I believe, is an old metaphor people used to use, but would Zelensky ever sit down with Tucker Carlson, who's actually going to ask him questions, asking for a modicum of responsibility or accountability, ask him, hey, where did all that money go? Why do we have all this money vanishing? Why is there no one keeping track of it? No. He would never take that.
In the United States are not traditional interviews. They are fawning pep sessions specifically designed to amplify Zelensky's demand that the U.S. enter more deeply into a war in Eastern Europe and pay for it. That is not journalism. It is government propaganda. Propaganda of the ugliest kind, the kind that kills people. At the same...
It's also ugly because he's got over $200 billion and he can't even suit up as all men should. He goes around there wearing a sweater. $200 billion, you can't suit up? Really? So it's also ugly in terms of fashion as well.
Time, our politicians and media outlets have been doing this, promoting a foreign leader like he's a new consumer brand. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin. Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. Americans have a right to know all they can about a war they're implicated in, and we have the right to tell.
And a war we're paying for. Again, $200 billion between cash as well as physical things such as medical as well as weaponry. $200 billion is a pretty penny. Well, I should clarify, a pretty vintage penny, since modern pennies are maybe a metaphor for the government. They're 99.999% zinc and just copper plated. It's basically worthless. Old pennies were made out of real copper. But I partially digress.
Tell them about it because we are Americans too. Freedom of speech is our birthright. We were born with the right to say what we believe. That right cannot be taken away no matter who is in the White House. But they're trying anyway. Almost 3 years ago, the Biden administration illegally spied on our text messages and then leaked the contents to their servants in the news media.
Was anyone held accountable for that? Or anyone charged with anything? Can't but think, oh yeah, of course not.
They did this in order to stop a Putin interview that we were planning. Last month, we're pretty certain they did exactly the same thing once again. But this time, we came to Moscow anyway. We are not here because we love Vladimir Putin. We are here because we love the United States. And we want it to remain prosperous and free. We paid for this trip ourselves. We took no money from any government or group. Nor are we charging people to see the interview. It is not behind a paywall.
It's even rare.
Anyone can watch the entire thing, shot live to tape and unedited, on our website, tuckercarlson.com. Elon Musk, to his great credit, has promised not to suppress or block this interview once we post it on his platform, X. And
oh, I guarantee it's going to be censored on other platforms. I mean, guarantee it.
we're grateful for that. Western governments, by contrast, will certainly do their best to censor this video on other less principled platforms because that's what they do. They are afraid of information they can't control. But you have no reason to be afraid of it. We are not encouraging you to agree with what Putin may say in this interview, but we are urging you to watch it. You should know as much as you can. And then, like a free citizen and not a slave, you can decide for yourself. Thanks.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Tucker Carlson. Perhaps the best example of getting fired could be the best thing to happen to you in life. Again, it might not feel like it at the time, or hopefully if you're listening, you haven't been laid off or anything like that. But it's an instance where some people thought his career was over after Fox laid him off or Fox fired him, which also shows you how mentally vacuous Fox News is to get rid of their top reporter. And yet, he has become more popular and more people respect him now than ever before. Him alone is getting more views than the entire Fox channel, all the programs put together. It's astonishingly impressive how viral Tucker Carlson is and how many people are tuning into his shows. I think because he's one of the very last reporters out there actually going out there and giving us more data rather than less. So it'll be interesting to see how the interview comes out. And as youth might say, this went viral to say the least. This from Vivek got 2.1 million views and 96,000 likes. Now, we do have a couple contrarian statements, and we're going to get to them below. But I suspect more often than not, it's going to be overwhelming support. But let's dive in. Paul Zazupa says, quote, naturally, Fox News fired the only real journalist they have. That's intellectual insanity, unquote, getting 246 likes. Our favorite contrarian, well, not really favorite, just follow him because, again, I want more data the better. And he's a very popular leftist on X Twitter. He's very active in most of the political posts and things that we follow on the show. So his name is Luke Zaleski, and he says, quote, Putin doesn't do interviews. He's a KGB propagandist. Tucker isn't a journalist. He's been a stooge mouthpiece for Putin's war on Ukraine for over a year already, and this will be more of that. This is disinformation op participated in and underwritten by Republicans and Elon X. Unquote. Wow, mentally vacuous. That did get 155 likes. And again, in the video, Tucker literally says, I'm not saying you should agree with Putin. I'm just giving you an opportunity to hear what he has to say. Which, again, how many interviews has Zelensky done that we've seen? Dozens? Maybe 100? All while we give him more and more money? And not a single person has asked, what's Russia's perspective? Again, I'm not telling you to take a side. I can just tell you strategically in terms of political alliances and businesses, there hasn't historically been much business relations with the U.S. and Ukraine. Most Americans cannot point it on it. They couldn't point it on a map, which perhaps I'll go and do some street reporting and ask some random folks if they could in fact point to it. I subsequently think very few would be able to. But let's dive into more comments here. Let's see. Dave Benner says, quote, the only way this gets better is if he pisses off the feds twice and interviews Snowden while he's in Russia as well. They got 529 likes. Let's see here. Joy Marino says, quote, imagine freedom of speech being a thing again. Unquote, getting 406 likes. Pismo says, quote, getting fired from Fox News was the best thing to ever happen to Tucker, journalism, and free speech. Unquote. They got 201 likes. And I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. There's also been other reports where it was coming out where Tucker wanted to have certain interviews where he was at Fox, and Fox would just keep telling him, no, no, no. Ridiculous to say the least. And Perhaps one of the worst business decisions in 2023 was Fox getting rid of Tucker Carlson. Some might call it the Bud Light business blunder, the Bud Light of the media in terms of decisions and marketing. They messed up that bad, I believe. So here, Malcolm Flex says, quote, "This is what the idea of journalism used to be. You used to have journalists that would go into dangerous areas, war-torn areas, and talk to the verboten people and bring us the truth. Not repeat regime propaganda. And no, I'm not talking about someone taking sniper fire." Unquote, getting 132 likes. Right Angle News Network, who A+ marketing, they in fact use a good old geometry right angle in their logo, and they say, quote, "He's someone that all journalists should strive to be. He is in the exact opposition of the corporate-controlled government, run mainstream media in the country. Tucker Carlson is the epitome of truth. Follow if you agree." Unquote, getting 86 likes. So here, Elijah Bloom says, quote, "He's inspiring a new generation of journalists. The more successful he is, the greater I hope I have. Others will follow suit." Unquote, getting 65 likes. Ooh, we do have a contrarian. Burt Macklin, well, as allegedly, that is a fictional character from Parks and Recreation. The profile picture is, in fact, of the caricature Burt Macklin in the FBI costume. So it's a costume of a costume. Go down the rabbit hole with that theory. But nevertheless, he says, Tucker isn't a journalist. He interviewed Cat Turd, LOL, getting 71 likes. Which I don't see how that makes him any less of a journalist. Cat Turd, while it's a hilarious name, it's one of those viral people on X Twitter. There's a huge cultural following behind that individual. I would certainly think it's appropriate to interview him, as you would with most people. Let's see here. Ryan Westonlick says, quote, "This is going to break the internet. Tucker's doing a great job in bringing the truth to people." I'll go again, 37 likes. Let's see here. Libercrat Media TM says, quote, "Let's break the media 100%. And they Photoshop Vladimir Putin sitting in Tucker Carlson's office, which I don't think he would ever come to the United States these days. Getting 56 likes. I don't know if this is good or bad, but this person, or I don't know if this person is making an insult or praise, but he said Oleg Kostor, who shows his priorities with the flags. Perhaps he is from Ukraine, but in the order of the flags he has in his name, which is weird in and of itself, he has the Ukrainian flag, the Canadian flag, and then the American flag. And he says, quote, "Literally nothing surprising about this post coming from you," unquote, getting 35 likes. Again, this post that we're referring to was from Vivek, so perhaps this person's referencing that. Let's see here. War Monitor says, "You're funny," and he does have Ukraine flag in his little name as well, getting 21 likes. Let's see here. Mike Sisbruba says, quote, "Crazy, we don't many like." Grammar aside, I'll read it exactly as he typed it. He says, quote, "Crazy, we don't many like left Tucker Carlson." I'm getting 34 likes. Grammar be damned. Let's see. Pat, well, again, so this is the profile name. Pat, Ukraine flag, pride flag, Ukraine flag. And this is he says, quote, "I can't watch this. I'll just wait to hear from Rachel Maddow about this interview. That's the way I get facts," unquote, getting 48 likes. And I can't help but think this has to be a troll account. Because again, I don't know who goes to Rachel Maddow for information or yet anything of a modicum of intellect when it comes to commentary. Some do, I suppose, but I think that sample size would be pretty darn small. Let's see here. Libercrat Media TM says, quote, "Liberals be like journalism, treason." And there's a picture of 3 different politicians or interview. Is that Hillary Clinton? So different U.S. politicians and interviewers meeting with Putin, but then when Tucker does it, then they call it treason. They got 58 likes. So this perhaps will be the interview that breaks the internet, as the youth might say, because I suspect it'll be quite viral, and it'll be interesting to see what is Russia's perspective on the situation, and what is Russia's goals? What is going to happen at the end of the day, and what are they hoping to achieve? That's going to be a fascinating interview. I cannot wait to take time to sit down and watch or listen to it. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in again. I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of February, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, and sharing also does help with the magical YouTube algorithm. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.